Let's talk about central banks, those imposing institutions like the Federal Reserve or the Bank of England. We're told they're the wise guardians of our money, keeping the economy stable and fighting inflation. But if an institution can create money out of thin air, a power that would land you in jail, shouldn't we be more skeptical? Maybe, just maybe, the story of central banks as benevolent protectors is a distraction from what's really going on. Central banks weren't created out of public service. They were born from a need for power and money, especially to fund wars. The Bank of England, for example, was set up so the government could borrow huge sums for war in exchange for bankers getting a monopoly on creating money. This model spread worldwide. Governments get endless funding, bankers get control and profits. Central banks are a partnership between the state and financial elites, letting both spend and profit far beyond their means. The public story is stability, but the real story is power and enrichment for a select few. Central banks let governments avoid unpopular taxes by quietly taxing us all through inflation. The system was never about protecting the common person. It was about consolidating control and creating a financial elite, and that hasn't changed. So, how does the magic money machine work? It's all about fiat money, currency with value only because the government says so. Unlike gold or silver, fiat money is just paper or digital numbers, created at will. With fiat, there's no limit. Central banks can create trillions with a keystroke. The government issues IOUs, bonds. The central bank buys them with newly created money, and that money flows into the economy. This monopoly on money creation lets central banks and governments manipulate the system for their own benefit. Imagine if one company controlled all the bread. Quality and price would suffer. That's our money system. The power to create money from nothing is the core of modern finance, and it happens every day right under our noses. Central banks sit atop a pyramid with big commercial banks just below, forming the world's most powerful cartel. Through fractional reserve banking, commercial banks multiply money. Your deposit becomes many times more in loans. Banks create money out of thin air, charge interest, and get bailed out if things go wrong. The central bank sets the rules and rescues its club members, privatizing profits and socializing losses. Big banks get cheap money and protection. Regular people and small banks are left out. The result? A closed loop where the elite benefit and the rest of us deal with the fallout. We don't get bailouts or cheap money, just the consequences. And that leads us straight to inflation. Inflation is the hidden tax of the system. Your money loses value as more is created. Prices rise not because things are more valuable, but because your dollars buy less. Savers and those on fixed incomes are hit hardest. Their nest eggs shrink in real terms. The government and big debtors benefit. They spend new money before prices rise and pay back debts with devalued dollars. You still have the same number of dollars, but they're worth less every year. Inflation punishes the prudent and rewards the indebted. It's legalized theft carried out by the most respectable people in the country. And the biggest winner? The government, always. New money doesn't hit everyone equally. It's sprayed like a hose, not rain. The first to get it, governments, big banks, corporations, spend it before prices rise. This is the Cantillon effect. Early receivers buy assets cheap, while late receivers pay higher prices. By the time money reaches regular people, costs have already soared. The result? Wealth flows from the poor and middle class to the rich and connected. It's a reverse Robin Hood built into the system. The rules ensure the same people always win. The 2008 financial crisis showed the system in action. Banks made risky bets with cheap money, reaped profits, then collapsed when the bubble burst. Instead of letting them fail, the government and central bank bailed them out with trillions in new money. Bankers kept their bonuses, the public lost jobs, homes, and savings, and paid for the bailout. The debt was monetized, leading to more currency debasement. The crisis proved the game is rigged. Profits are private, losses are public. Heads they win, tails you lose. The banking cartel's power was never clearer. After 2008, central banks printed trillions, buying assets and pushing interest rates to zero. The result? Asset bubbles everywhere. Stocks, real estate, art, luxury goods. The wealthy who own most assets saw their net worth explode. For regular people, higher home prices didn't mean real wealth, because everything else got more expensive too. The bottom half, with few assets, got left behind, facing higher rents and unaffordable homes. The illusion of prosperity masked growing inequality. Central bank policies meant to help became engines of wealth concentration. The rich got richer, everyone else struggled. Here's the big picture. Central banks and governments create money, funnel it to the top, and inflate asset prices. The wealthy get richer as their assets soar, everyone else faces rising costs and stagnant wages. This isn't a flaw, it's how the system is designed. Wealth is transferred from workers and savers to the financial elite. The young face impossible hurdles, expensive education, unaffordable housing, and eroding savings. The game is rigged, and the gap keeps growing. A new aristocracy is born, not from value creation, but from proximity to the money spigot. The roots of today's anger and instability lead straight to the central bank's door. So, what's the alternative? A free market in money, where people choose what to use, and competition keeps currency honest. The gold standard is history's most successful example. Money backed by gold, not government decree. This limits how much money can be created, protecting savings and enforcing fiscal discipline. Governments can't print endlessly or quietly tax you through inflation. The Cantillon effect disappears. No more systematic wealth transfer to the elite. Critics say it's too rigid, but maybe less management is exactly what we need. A free market in money puts power back in people's hands, not the central planners. The real question, do we have the courage to demand it? Is our current system fair? You already know the answer.